This is A to Z with Mark Zinno, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, and it starts now.
Good afternoon. Welcome to A to Z here on Locked On Sports Atlanta, where today I tell you men and women lie, but numbers don't. Welcome in. We're live here on this Monday. Hope everybody had a wonderful weekend here in Atlanta as we are back in the saddle. After last week, a week full of live streams here on Locked On Sports Atlanta. It was great to be with you guys. Certainly appreciate everybody chiming in and watching the show live, but we are back here in podcast format and certainly ready to go for a big week here in Atlanta. We've got a lot to get to. My buddy Aaron Freeman of Locked On Falcons will join us right here on the Locked On Sports Atlanta Network for today's show as well. We'll get into some NFL, but we have a lot to get to with the Braves. Reminder, follow us on Twitter at Locked On ATL. Of course, I'm at Mark Zinno. Search for Locked On Sports Atlanta wherever you get your podcasts. And keep this train going, guys. 3,000 subscribers on that YouTube channel already. Give it a thumbs up. Give it a subscribe. And we will continue to churn out daily content, the best sports content here in Atlanta, right here on Locked On Sports Atlanta. All right. We have a huge week ahead for the Atlanta Braves. And oh, by the way, yesterday was a game that a lot of teams lose. Yesterday was a game that a lot of good teams don't win. And so it was great to see the Braves fight their way through it, come back and steal a win in the ninth inning from away from the Florida Marlins and end up taking all 6 games against Boston and Miami and taking care of business against lesser teams. 5.5 back of the Mets as they start this big series and the big week. And I've been leading up to this week telling you guys that this is like, playoff week. 7 games, all at home, 4 against the Mets, 3 against the Astros. You're going to get the very best of what Major League Baseball has to offer. And in the big picture, I'd love to see them win 4 out of these 7 games. But let's just focus on the Mets series right off the bat here, because I think that is really important when it comes to looking at a big picture situation for the playoffs. Because let's just look at this objectively. Objectively, the Mets right now are probably the best team in baseball. They are like legit one of the best teams in baseball, if not the best team in baseball for my money. And this is not the same Mets team that we are used to seeing in ones from years past. This is a completely different animal. And right now, they have an edge on the Braves. And Jeff Schultz, who writes at The Athletic, I was filming on 92.9 yesterday, and he came on and joined me on the show, and he alluded to the column that he wrote today on The Athletic about the Braves need to prove something here. And I think he's right. They do. Because right now, objectively, the Braves can't beat good teams. The numbers just say that. They're 70-46. That's 24 games above 500. That's really good. And I'm not taking anything away from them. For a team that is playing 650 baseball, can't get mad at them. But dive a little bit deeper into the numbers and see where they are. Against teams that are above 500, they are 21-23. 49-23 against everybody else. Those numbers are a little bit alarming, and they should be a little bit alarming. It's not, when you're winning 60% of your games, but losing over 50% of those to teams that you'd likely see in the playoffs, that's not good. And break it down here. 4-8 against the Mets, 6-6 against the Phillies, 2-1 against the Dodgers, 3-4 against the Padres, 3-1 against St. Louis, and 3-3 against Milwaukee. That's 21-23. Part of the reason that the Braves are 49-23 against bad teams, they're 19-7 against Miami and Washington. That's 73%. They're winning 73% of the times. 3 out of every 4 games almost that they play against Washington and Miami, they win. Add in against the 2 other bottom feeder teams in baseball, the Pittsburgh Pirates and the Colorado Rockies, they're another 8-0. They are 79.4% winning percentage. That's 27-7. So they win 80% of the games against the worst teams in the league. Even at that, just get rid of the bottom feeders between Washington and Miami and Pittsburgh and Colorado, and you take away 27-7, this is a team now that is 22-16. I mean, it's, that's against the rest of baseball. That's not 500. Those are against like the sort of mediocre bad teams, the Giants. You look at other teams, San Francisco, Texas, Boston, the Reds, the Cubs, these teams that you should be a lot better than against. So the numbers tell you where we are right now with the Braves and why they have to prove something. And it's set up for them to do so. I'll tell you that in a minute. First, a word from our friends at betonline.net. Fastest and easiest way to check in on all your sports betting needs. Find your favorite sports and events at the #1 online source for odds, lines, and games. Find reviews and news of every league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all your sports wagering information, from live in-game betting, scores, and podcasts. They've got you covered. Head to BetOnline today or use your mobile device to learn more about all the action that's happening today. BetOnline, where the game starts. So the numbers aren't good. And what the Braves need to do coming up in this series against the Mets is take back some sort of mental edge by taking 3 out of 4. Look, I'll be objective. I don't think you can sweep the Mets. I don't think they're good enough to sweep the Mets. And when the Mets are starting their big four of DeGrom, Scherzer, Walker, and Carrasco, it's actually in reverse order of where they're going. Carrasco's teeing off tonight against Spencer Strider. But, yeah, I mean, it is something that is – they have got to take 3 out of 4. Splitting does nothing. You know what it says? It says that you're 21-23 against above 500 teams. Splitting does nothing. Got to take 3 out of 4. This is the series where they need to prove it. They're home. They're going to get Spencer Strider. They're going to get Kyle Wright in this series. Now, Morton and Odorizzi are huge question marks. And maybe Max Fried, who's going to come off the concussion IL at some point. Right now, they don't have him penciled in. But it wouldn't surprise me if they bumped Odorizzi and put Max Fried in there, and then went Odorizzi against Houston, or Kyle Wright against Houston and moved Odorizzi back to the finale of the series. But they have got to prove something. The mental edge is with the Mets. They've owned it after taking 4 out of 5. And if the best the Braves can do is a split, well, that sort of feels like not the advantage that you want. And it starts tonight with Strider, and this young kid has got to have a phenomenal performance. A lot of pressure on him, but I think he's up for it. You guys know my thoughts on Strider and how good he's been all year long and what he's meant to this team and how he's been able to elevate and make everybody better around him. Like, this is super important for not only for Strider, but for the Braves tonight. Take the first game of this series, because if you're playing catch up after being down 1 already, I think that simply this is a really tough spot. If the Mets take 3 out of 4, you can pretty much kiss the division goodbye. Why? Because the Mets have a cupcake schedule the rest of the way out. You want to hear their September, by the way? This is the Mets September. Washington, and home road doesn't matter. Washington, Pittsburgh, Miami, Chicago, Pittsburgh, Milwaukee, above 500 team, Oakland, Miami, Atlanta, above 500 team, and then Washington. They play 2 above 500 teams the rest of the way. That's it. And most of the rest of those teams are bottom feeder teams. Washington, Pittsburgh, Miami. They even got a series against Colorado. They got to go face the Dodgers too. But towards the end of August, they get 3 against Colorado. It's cupcake series for the Mets on the way out. Now, the Braves exactly don't have a tough schedule. We know New York and Houston, they face Pittsburgh, but St. Louis is above 500. Colorado, Miami, Oakland, Seattle above 500. San Francisco above 500. So they play the Mets again for 3. It's a little bit tougher. Not incredibly tough, but a little bit tougher. But if they lose 3 out of 4 here and seed 2 more games to 7.5, I think you kiss the division goodbye at this point. Going to be fun. Going to be exciting. Braves need to come out on top. All right, coming up next, some reaction to the Falcons preseason game number 1. There were 2 observations that really stuck with me. Plus, we'll talk to Aaron Freeman of Locked On Falcons coming up next right here on A to Z on Locked On Sports Atlanta, free on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Search Locked On Sports Atlanta.